Okay, we will bring this meeting to order. Today is what, April 27th, regular meeting? And we'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item is roll call, please.
Mr. Hinckley?
Here.
Ms. McGuire?
Here.
Mr. Gajewski?
Here.
Mr. Binkowski?
Here.
Ms. Krasko here. Mr. Weed?
Here.
Mr. Dwyer?
Here. Thank you. Any modifications to the agenda tonight? Additions, subtractions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Public comment. Reminder that we ask you to fill out a card first time. You have 4 minutes to speak. We have a second public comment at the end of the meeting. Does anybody have anything they wish to bring up or ask about or anything like that? No cards? One card.
We have one card. Steve Droop would like to talk about township spending.
Okay.
Good evening. Steve Droop, 2006 Fern Drive, Oscoda, Michigan. I just wanted to say a couple things about spending that's going on up here that I really don't think is necessary. Of course, I don't have, would agree with a lot of things that go on around here. But anyways, number one being the bike path. A lot of money's been put out for that bike path. Everybody thinks it's going to bring so much business into this town. It's not going to bring any business into this town. Maybe the hotels and the restaurants and the bars, whatever, for a night, and then they're going to be gone. When they have the bike riders here for the canoe race, it brings in 300 bikes. They're here for a day and they're gone. We're not going to fill up storefronts. We're not going to do anything else with the bike path. Plainfield Township has pulled out of this thing. Governor Snyder has pulled all kinds of money out of this fund, leaving the little towns now to fund it. And I think it's a lot of wasted money spent. The beachfront property. We're gonna waste $550,000 on beachfront property. I really don't think is necessary. I guess I don't understand what the purpose is of this purchase. Who's gonna cover the taxes? I understand they're around $6,000 for that piece of property, leaving that to the taxpayers. We've already spent $30,000 or $3,000 for plans, $2,500 for paperwork, and I'm sure there's a lot more I don't know about. The water park at the beach park. What a joke. The kids come up here, they have lakes to swim in, the river to swim in, everything else to play with and do this and do that. Now we're gonna put a water park down here. What a waste of money. We have to maintain it. What about the water bill? Who's gonna pay for that? Okay, no new businesses in town. This township does everything they can do to possibly run businesses out of this town instead of bringing businesses into this town. Last week in the paper was the new blight situation on the storefronts here in town. Maybe if we work with people trying to bring business into this town instead of making it harder for them to open a building in this town and making sure it's up to code and up to snuff and everybody's happy with it, maybe somebody would come to this town. There's no jobs for kids in this town. None whatsoever, because there's no businesses in this town that want to come to this town. The fireworks. I have never lived in an area in my life where there's more uprises and concerns about where the fireworks are shot off, where they're at, this, that, and everything else. $5,000 for beach equipment for a new projector and sound system and stuff to play movies down here at the park. Once again, what a waste. Are we really going to get anything from that? Foreclosures in this town. There's all kinds of foreclosures in this town. Once again, because this township makes it impossible for anybody to live in this town. In the meantime, we've got frozen water lines in this town we don't take care of. Roads that were turned into dirt in this town that should be blacktopped that aren't getting re-blacktopped. The birding trail. I guess I don't understand that one either. People can't walk in the woods and look for birds. They have to have an official trail with signs and this and that and everything else. Is it really gonna bring anything into this town? I doubt it. The township parking lot. The township can't even get along with one of the, as far as I know, one of the longest business owners in this town. We can't even get along with that gentleman so we can park behind this building. Now we're gonna build a new building, supposedly, or that's what we're talking about. Who's gonna pay for that? Once again, the taxpayers. The code enforcement job. I went through a little run-in with the zoning board here not too long ago, okay? They came down on me, and yet everybody around my area and in this town and whatever, the same situation goes on, and nothing has been done to anybody else, nothing's been said to anybody else, nothing is going to be done to anybody else, but yet we come down on me. So I agreed to go along with the zoning board. I have to take down a couple sheds and this and that, a plastic tent that I guess I don't understand how they can tax me on that. But anyways, after I agreed to take these buildings down, 2 weeks later, I get a bill in the mail saying my assessment has gone up $4,500. It's went down $10,000 in the last 5 years to 2 buildings that I have to take down. I guess I don't understand that.
Sir, your time is about up if you want.
Well, okay, and I just want to make a couple more comments here.
Okay.
The farmer's market. You know, that's the only reason we want this beachfront property, is to eventually build a pavilion down there so we can, I guess, steal the farmer's market from Oscoda and bring it down here for a pavilion we can't afford. And you know, what's wrong with where the farmer's market's at now? The other thing is, I'd like to know why you're still sitting in front of this room and haven't resigned your position yet with the lawsuit that I guess is pending against this township again, that we paid out to a business owner in this town, and was supposed to be undisclosed as far as what that amount was. You said what that amount was. Now that business owner is once again suing this township for, as far as I would imagine, another 6 figures, costing once again the taxpayers lots of money in this town. So I'd like to know why you haven't resigned your position and let somebody else get in that seat.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. Is there anything that you like about this town?
Yeah, I love this area. I love this area.
But
So you had to come out in the woods and mess with me. And everything else that's gone on in this township, that goes on in this township, I've kept my mouth shut for, I've had my place up here for 12 years, I've lived up here for 7. And the things that go on up here are just a joke, an absolute joke. You guys make it impossible for anybody to want to come up here. The other thing is, how do we know it's Thursday night or Friday morning in this town? Gas pumps automatically go up 20 cents a gallon. Once again, let's invite these tourists up here so we can rip them off for the weekend and then go home. Because we don't want you to stay here.
Steve,
If you move in here and improve your place, then we're gonna mess with you.
I recently made a couple trips from Saginaw home, and the gas prices in Oscoda were the lowest I saw in the whole trip.
Well, I beg to differ with you.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you. All right, anybody else, any other cards?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we will go to the consent agenda. The first item in the 3-part consent agenda is the minutes. Anybody have anything regarding the minutes that they wish to question or correct? Once again, hearing none. Second item is the financial report, payment of bills in the recent 2 weeks to the tune of $103,035.11. Any item in there that you wish to, okay. Third part of the consent agenda is any informational items. We have a couple from our community development coordinator. one dealing with fund grant application. And how much is that in?
The grant amount requested is $416,200. Our match or local contribution would be $146,300.
And the amount that we are asking again, pardon me?
$416,002, or $416,200.
Steve, that is part of what you talked about, the property.
Can't say that
thing, Where you
number.
mentioned 500,000.
Our portion would only be 100.
We don't have this grant, but we're applying for it, so.
This country, this state, and this town's broke, but we're gonna spend it anyway, grants. We just pull out of here.
You know, that grant money, Steve, is from.
I understand.
Oil
You don't have to
company-
go there, I understand.
Oil companies and gas companies, not from your taxes. Okay. All right. And then the Ani Medical Center, Sabo Valley Community Health. Anybody have a question regarding that? Okay.
Do we have the executed documents then, possibly,
Hopefully tomorrow.
tomorrow?
Mhm.
Does this new tenant replace anyone else, or brand new customer?
Well, they're taking over space that was just partially used, like half of the suite was used by Alpina Urology, and he has sold his practice and has been kind of phasing out to retire.
Mhm.
They were 1 day a week, and for like 4 hours in just a few of the rooms. They're gonna finish their couple months left in actually some space within Alcona Healthcare. So
Okay.
a couple of rooms there. So the other room was completely vacant, and that was healthcare recruitment was the last tenant there.
So they're an expanding business that's here in town that's taking up some more space
Sabo
on
Valley
it.
Mental Health, yes. They just did quite a large renovation on their Cedar Lake, Road business. I believe it was around $800,000. Upgraded that building. There's not enough room there, so they needed more space for about 20 employees or so.
So the annual lease rate will be over $33,000.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Good. Okay, well, I guess that's the three parts of the consent agenda. Anybody wish to make a motion to?
So
on?
moved.
Okay.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Weed with support from Mr. Hinckley that we do accept the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Okay, motion carried. Next we go to reports, the superintendent's report. Bob has about 7 items here. And the first one deals with the fire department, an air filter purchase.
Yes, we have a carbon dioxide filtration system in the fire barn. The filters need to be replaced periodically. They're actually overdue from just a strict timeline standpoint. And accordingly, the fire chief has gone and got a quote to replace the 4-stage filter system and the pre-filters that are required as part of the process. The quote exceeds $2,000, so I'm bringing this matter before the board. The total cost that we're seeking approval for is $2,662, so that those filters can be replaced.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the purchase.
Support.
okay, the motion is made by Ms. McGuire with support from Mr. Binkowski that we do go ahead with the air filter purchase for our local fire department. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Okay, next item, dust control bids for the summer of 2015.
In the board packet was a request for proposal solicitation that had been sent out with a due date of last Friday, the 24th, and this would be for quotations to implement our 2015 dust control program. We did get 2 quotes, the usual 2 suspects, if you will. They're the folks who've responded for the past several years. And based on the bid proposal summation that was distributed, everybody should have gotten a copy. I actually have a paper copy here from Mr. Byer. The low bid appears to be liquid calcium chloride at 19.4 cents per gallon, and that's for the 26% brine product. They are quite a bit lower than their competitor. It's not as close as it's been in the past, but they are the apparent low bid. We have worked with the company in the past.
All right, any comment or anything about this particular company and their product and how they apply it?
We're looking at 2 applications.
The spec called for 2 with the possibility of a 3rd
Okay.
at our discretion.
I would recommend within the next couple weeks, as dry of a spring it's been, the roads are already dusty.
Okay,
Well, it seems like a no-brainer to go with the
Yeah.
cheaper one.
Yeah.
I'll make
Yeah.
a motion, we go ahead with liquid calcium.
Support.
Can I ask a question real quick? My mother's had a home over in Hale for years, and over there they do the roads 3 times a year, usually before every holiday. Is there a reason we only do it twice here?
we did it 3 times last summer, didn't we?
We did not, because I think it was so wet in the fall.
In the fall,
Yeah.
We
were going to.
talking about 3
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
We had the 3rd one available to do, but because it was so wet, we
didn't do it.
didn't do the 3rd
Yeah.
one. But it was available in case it was dry.
So right now you're only bidding for twice this year?
With
No.
the possibility of the
Of
third
third
one still,
one, yeah.
depending on how the weather goes.
Okay. All right. Then, do we have a motion?
Yeah, we got motion and support.
Okay, then roll call, please.
Mr. Benkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yeah.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion carried. Number 3 item, first responder issue again.
Yes. At the time I had written my report, our working group, made up of representatives from the 2 townships, had met and put together a tentative plan of action with the intent of bringing it before the township boards in both communities, and that's what I'm doing this evening. However, it wasn't included in the board packet as of the distribution on Thursday because we wanted to meet with the first responders and get their reaction before we came forth with the plan, if you will. So as part of the supplemental material that was distributed Friday, there is a plan of action outline as dated April 14th, and I will briefly review that. What we're talking about is renewing the contract with the first responders, running with the initial term through the end of this year. One of the questions that was raised is whether the economics would be prorated, and I think the consensus of the group is that yes, they should be. So keep that in mind when I talk about these sums. These sums assume an annualized contract. So we would look at a contribution annually of $8,000 in keeping with the contract arrangement we've had for several years. We would provide an additional $4,000 provided that the group could raise new money amounting to that amount. So to get $4,000, they would have to raise $4,000. The baseline, and I provided a copy of a budget report from 2013, that's where that $13,500 figure comes from, and you can sort of see where some of the consistent sources of revenue are. So they would have to get $4,500 on top of the $13,500 to qualify for the bonus or incentive payment. We are talking about housing them at the Awney Medical Center, which would require relocation, using the garage and some office space that's available there, and in cooperation with some of the groups that use that space now. That would need to be coordinated. And one of the questions that was left open is whether there should be some kind of cost sharing between the townships. Obviously, Oscoda Township owns and operates that space. So and Oscoda seemed amenable to that, but we did not close the loop on that particular question. We've also talked about accountability, so built into this tentative agreement are several milestones that they would need to comply with, that being modification of the protocol. They've actually already, as of several weeks ago, given us a very basic proposal that probably would satisfy that. One of the concerns is that we have some kind of succession and backup leadership capacity, so we're looking for a plan to do that within 120 days, trying to recruit more volunteers and stabilize the organization, make it sustainable. We'll be looking for a plan within 90 days of contract execution to do that, and then monthly reports would be prepared documenting information that was mutually agreed that we thought was important. The agreement could be terminated by the townships at their discretion, and then once it was signed, the idea would be to notify the county that they would be vacating and ask first responders to remove themselves from that space within 1 week's time. So that's it in general, and the question is, does that sound acceptable? If it does, from the Oscoda Township Board's perspective, I presume it will go to Oscoda Township next week, and then we would work towards developing a contract agreement on that basis.
Comments? What do you think?
Did we check with the county about them adding the ambulance to find out how much more time we're gonna end up and if this is gonna affect anything?
Well, I think the 5th ambulance is already in place.
Right.
Yeah. But am I right? Did they have some kind of accident or something that temporarily cut it back down to 4?
That's what was indicated during our meeting, yes. We haven't heard that from the county. The other thing we did, and certainly we could check with the county to see what the impact is. What we did here is it has helped to respond in a timely fashion. To what extent, we don't know, but it has been a benefit.
Bob, I see on the board table too, we have the 2013 income. Is there a reason why we didn't get the 2014?
Well, the group looked at, we have all of them,
Okay.
but that's the one we sort of settled on as a reasonable baseline. That's, I guess, to demonstrate where that number came from.
Okay.
Certainly we could supply the others. The group did review them.
Yeah, cause this one shows a $2,500 loss. I mean, if they're gonna keep running like that.
Won't run long.
No.
This is a 1-year deal, right? Trial thing.
Yep.
I think the document's a very good start.
Well, would you like a motion, or do we wait and see what Oscoda's gonna do, and then they're gonna wait and see what we do?
I think a motion, maybe on a preliminary basis, if the board were willing to entertain that, subject to Oscoda's action and preparation of a contract document.
I'll move we go ahead with the proposed plan.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Hinckley with support from Ms. McGuire that we do go ahead with the plan as outlined. Incidentally, the comment about the 5th ambulance is working and has helped came from the first responder guy, which is a bit of a change. So. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
No.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
No.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion is passed. Okay, work sessions scheduling.
I have put together a draft work session agenda, and you'll note that the date and time have yet to be determined. We had set aside consideration of establishing a date and time until tonight's meeting based on numerous scheduling conflicts that were evident at the last meeting. So in short, I'm asking for the board's consideration in establishing an appropriate date and time to discuss the contents of that agenda. You'll note that there's numerous specific issues that we've talked about revisiting, And when we distribute the work session packet, I anticipate sending out some specific information which hopefully will be helpful in discussing those issues. I had suggested initially May 4th or May 5th. I'm advised that's problematic for our township clerk, to say the least, so maybe May 6th would be a good starting point for discussion.
May 6th is good with me.
Me too.
Not me. Sorry.
May 7th?
Good with me.
Good with me.
Good.
Okay.
3 o'clock.
That's fine with me.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we set the next work session for May 7th at 3 o'clock.
Support.
All right. Motion by Ms. McGuire with support from Mr. Hinckley that we pick the 7th of May, 3 o'clock. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Gieske?
Yeah.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Pankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes. Motion carried. Number 5 item is a proposed land exchange issue.
Yes, there's a letter from the DNR regarding a land exchange involving a proposed land exchange involving a parcel of property located west of Loud Drive adjacent to Van Etten Lake. It's actually constitutes approximately 1.6 acres. It's part of a 40-acre parcel the state got through tax reversion in 1903. It's just the very corner of that parcel. It doesn't abut the lake. The state's been approached by an adjoining property owner regarding the potential for an exchange. The property owner in question has apparently located a parcel in Mount Morenci County, which the state believes would be advantageous. They have also indicated to me that the parcel near Loud Drive or adjacent to Loud Drive is likely to be declared not useful at some point in the future. So they're inclined to proceed with the exchange, but they've asked if we have any input. My suggestion is that we consider indicating to them that we don't have a position in the matter.
I move we have no input.
Support.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that any discussion on that? All right. Mr. Hinckley makes a motion that we stay out of this. No input, and that was seconded by Mr. Weed. Roll call, please.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yeah.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Pankowski?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Dwyer?
Yes. Motion carried. Item 6, an updating of our recreation master plan and land use master plan.
Thank you. There was discussion recently, I think, in relation to the improvements at Ratliff Park relative to the need to update the recreation master plan and the fact that we could garner input during that process. And specifically, our plan was last updated in 2011. It's good for a 5-year term based on the state's guidelines. So in order to qualify for any grants next year, we're going to need to consider updating the master plan. At the same time, there's been some discussion at the Planning Commission, I'm told, about the potential necessity for updating the land use master plan. So based on those two factors, staff initiated contact with Spicer Engineering relative to a quotation for professional services to update the plans, and that was based in part on the fact that Spicer did the recreation master plan in 2011. Thought was they should be able to update the document cost effectively. They've done several other plans for us in the past, including the non-motorized and the sports complex, etc. And we've had good experience in general. However, another firm, McKenna Associates, did the original land use master plan, so you should be aware of that. I also indicated to Spicer that it was possible we would wind up bidding one or both components of this work. Initially, when I asked for the information, I had thought the recreation master plan would be the priority from a timing standpoint. I didn't envision what they proposed, and that being some cost benefit in doing both at the same time. So you should be aware we didn't budget specifically for the land use master plan update this year. The benefit amounts to a $1,200 discount because public input could be gathered concurrently for both processes. The development of the estimate for the land use plan required some input from staff as to what specific elements of the plan would need updating. So that was a discussion between myself and Mr. Eggers. So if we were inclined to proceed with one or both components, and in particular the land use component, my suggestion would be that discussion be had with the Planning Commission as to the scope of work and whether it's considered appropriate before we were to move forward with the process. So in sum, they're proposing $4,500 for the recreation master plan and $14,000 for the land use plan, minus $1,200 if they're done together. So the total cost would be $17,300. That compares, just for purposes of perspective, when McKenna did the plan back in 2002, the cost was $23,500, but it involved a more comprehensive review of the entire plan.
And this one is 17 as opposed to 23,000.
Right.
And master plans must, by state law, be updated every how many years?
I don't believe they have to be reviewed. They don't have to be updated. But the Planning Commission has reviewed it several times, I think, and concluded that an update wasn't needed at that point. So.
But there are cases, if they're not updated within 5 years, you can't apply. You don't qualify for grants.
For grants, right.
And our master plan really needs to be updated. It's been a long time, and business is no longer conducted the way it was years ago. People don't live their lives the way they did years ago. A lot has changed in the last 20 years that plan should be updated to accommodate it.
How would we involve the Planning Commission exactly? Have them talk about what their key concerns are and then have a group of them attend one of our meetings, or we go to one of theirs, or what? What do you propose there?
Well, I'm thinking that for starters, share the scope of work with them, and if we were committed to Spicer being involved, maybe have Spicer send somebody up to talk to them directly, and then finalize their proposal, refine their proposal, and then bring it back in terms of consideration of a formal contract agreement.
All right, thank you, Bob. So what's the wish of the board here? Want to do the two together? Are you proposing that we talk to Spicer and then also let them know that we're going to go out for bids also?
Well, I think that the history has shown that they are competitive. My suggestion, if pressed, would be to move forward and negotiate something with Spicer, but certainly we could get competitive pricing. If we're going to do that, I think we would want to put together some specifications that, you know, are apples to apples, and not approach the Planning Commission at this point.
I make a motion to go forward with bids for both the recreation and the master plans.
From Spicer.
No.
Or bid
No, we're
it.
going for bids.
Okay. I'll support that.
Okay. The motion been made by Mr. Weed with support from Mr. Binkowski that we go for bids on this issue. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Binkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
For clarification's sake, bids on both components.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Bob's last item is a FOIA legislation, new rules and regs.
Yes, there's been some amendments to state law which result in the need to consider amendments to our policy for managing the FOIA process. The Township Association had provided notice of this along with our own attorney. The changes go into effect as of July 1st of this year. The MTA actually put together a kit to help communities in complying. We've downloaded that kit and made some very modest changes. Those were intended to be included in the board packet. They were not. So what I've done is put on the board table the areas where the changes were made. There may be one more that we overlooked. Unfortunately, the original notes were disposed of late last week. The primary thing I would note on the item on the board table is that the original policy called for an affirmative requirement that all computers be inspected at least monthly, the spam filters for FOIA requests. That type of definitive timeline is not required legally, I'm told, so that was struck. We still are saying we're going to look at the filters, but given the number of computers and folks involved, I think that's one of those things that could be easily overlooked in terms of absolutely complying with that 30-day timeline. There's also provisions regarding deposits that in the KIT version of the policy document say you shall require a deposit under certain circumstances. We made that may require, made it more permissive. The reality is, given the way the legislation is configured and the process, it's probably less likely that we would be charging for FOIA requests moving forward unless they're considered unduly burdensome. So there is a resolution included with the packet this evening that would adopt the procedures and guidelines, the summary of the procedures and guidelines, and the detailed cost breakdown sheets.
This is part of the kit that the MTA has put together?
Yes.
All right, discussion.
Bob, does this address, like, we've had previous people have FOIA requests that Deb never paid their fee that they were supposed to pay? Does that address that in this? Because I haven't had a chance to look at it.
It does.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Is this something, I'm not suggesting this, but is this something that, since you're just getting this now, that you wish to look at for another 2 weeks or decide tonight?
I don't think there's that many changes. I mean, only a few. I don't have a problem with it.
All right. Then I'm looking for a motion to adopt the MTA kit and the changes encompassed in that.
So we're,
As the resolution, right?
Well, yeah, that's right. We can cover this in the resolution.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So let's wait till we get to the resolution and ordinances section. Do that. So. Okay. Anything further on this, or?
Well, Chris and Bob really are the FOIA coordinators, aren't you really? How do you feel
Yeah,
about?
Bob
Yeah.
mainly and me just secondary, yeah. No, I don't have a problem with it, it's fine.
I'd be happy to relinquish it.
No, I'm happy with this, that's fine.
The reason it's done that way is I've been the FOIA coordinator for some time. So.
You do so well at it. I'm sure.
Okay, then we're gonna move on to the Community Development Coordinator. And Ann has one item, action item, VA clinic expansion.
Based on direction at the January 26th meeting, the board asked for me to bring payment request for the VA clinic expansion project back as an action item each time. So this evening, there was information in the packet on a payment to J.E. Johnson in the amount of $13,500 for work completed to date. If you look at the breakdown on that, $1,000 was to J.E. for specific work that's been done for the pre-bid packet, and then 12.5 to the architect, so.
Okay.
And according to Randy Oliver, who's been handling most of the compiling of the documents, we should hopefully be going out to bid close to Memorial Day. They have had, I can't tell you how many changes internally that they've made on flipping rooms around, and a lot of that has been based on different programs that have changed based since the lease went out, and even in the last month, different changes in how they operate and see patients and information like that. So they flip things around a lot, and you can't start any of the other work until they have the floor plan down, so.
Item 58 at the bottom of the list.
Mm-hmm.
It says 12.5 architectural, 5% of the final cost. Does that mean 95% of the architect's charges are ahead of us?
No, it's, that is the 5% of the total cost of the project.
Okay.
5% of that is architectural.
Okay.
So no, it's estimated right now at that 30, and sorry, let me increase my size there. Is that 38 or 36?
36.
Okay, sorry, I can't just, yeah. And then the construction management is 7% of the total cost.
Okay. Okay, what's the will of the board on this? Go ahead with this.
Well, I got a question for Ann
Sure.
first. And the actual expansion, because they had services there before, if you had to give it a percentage of the expansion that they're doing, you know, between 1% and 100%, what would you say that was?
Do you mean like like right now they're in close to 4,000 square feet of space, and they're expanding to 7,200 square feet. So,
Okay.
and I believe they're adding more services for their patient care in additional.
So they're
Mhm.
expanding all their services. Are they gonna
Yeah.
be hiring new people, or?
Yes, I'm not sure how many, but yes. A couple more nurses, and then again, additional services that they're gonna be offering to the vets, so.
Okay.
I'll move we go ahead with the payment of $13,500.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Hinckley with support from Ms. McGuire that we do go ahead with this. This will be the second payment, is that right? Ann? Second or
Third?
Second.
Second, yes.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Pankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion carried. And now we go to the ordinance and resolution section. And the first resolution we have is kind of a carryover from before. Charitable game licensing.
Yes, this was a topic at our last board meeting and was set aside pending receipt of additional information. It is a request on behalf of the sports boosters that the board adopt a resolution that would recognize the organization as a nonprofit for purposes of fundraising and charitable gaming. They have provided a letter along with supporting documentation as to bylaws, etc. And I should note that my esteemed partner here is the president of the Sports Boosters, just for the record.
Does this cover for the entire year, for the school year? Is that how that works, or is it just for a specific charitable gaming thing?
It's a new thing that the state has mandated to operate a poker room. So in order for an entity like us to be one of the charities that operate a poker room, you have to go through, this is the first step, and there's a bunch of other things you have to resubmit for approval with the state.
And then how long is that good? Is that good
It's
forever?
good for
Forever?
indefinitely,
Yeah.
unless we were to change something within the booster guide, the boosters. Mhm. Or the state makes new rules in the gaming like they just did a couple years ago, so.
Okay.
I'll move we approve resolution 2015-08.
Support. Okay, Hinckley Byer. Roll call on resolution 2015-08.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Resolution is passed. Next one is resolution 2015, and this will be 11, is that
10.
right? 10?
This is
10?
10. It
This
says
is
9
10.
on here, but it's,
Yeah.
it should be
Okay.
10.
10.
This resolution, through adoption, will enact and approve the procedures and guidelines that we talked about just a moment ago for the Freedom of Information Act in relation to my report, specifically the FOIA procedures and guidelines, the public summary, which is required, and the detailed cost itemization forms. And again, those are all based on the MTA kit in very large part.
I'll move we approve resolution 2015-09.
10.
10.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Minkowski with support from Mr. Weed that we do adopt 2015-10. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Resolution is passed. Okay, we go under other. And, the first item is a MDEQ wastewater treatment system project plan approval.
This is a formal acknowledgement that our project plan for the SRF program has been approved. This will allow us to move forward with the process of borrowing money to fund a large portion of our wastewater improvement project. This is the portion, you might recall, that initially was prompted by permit requirements. The RAP component and anything else we choose to do would be funded through a separate financing and bond issue. But it is good news. We are moving forward. I've had discussions in the last week with bond counsel, our financial advisor, and engineer, and I anticipate at the next meeting having a resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds, a notice of intent to begin the referendum period. We're still a long ways out from actually selling the bonds, but beginning the process.
Okay, is there any questions or discussion on this? Do we need to take any action on this?
No, sir.
Okay. Then number 2 item under other is a patrol vehicle engine replacement.
This is an item that was added. Unfortunately, due to necessity, there is a memorandum from our chief of police along with cost quotations from the vendor where we get our vehicles serviced. In short, we've had another engine failure with one of our SUV patrol vehicles. Unfortunately, in this case, it was due to an issue from a township standpoint, not the equipment. Specifically, it would appear that the vehicle was driven many, many miles without the oil being checked and essentially run out of oil, to cut to the chase. And what it looks like, based on investigation, is that the light which comes on and indicates that the oil's low was not reported to the folks who are responsible for getting maintenance taken care of, probably several times, given the amount of miles that were driven before it ran out of oil. And as noted in Chief David's memo, we're taking steps to try and remedy that, but there is no good explanation, frankly, and it's very unfortunate. What Mark is recommending specifically is that the board consider approving the remanufactured engine, which comes with a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty. Given that the vehicle we're talking about has about 70,000 miles on it, he believes that'll allow us to push the purchase of 2 vehicles out 1 more year, so we'll get more benefit than we would have otherwise gotten out of this particular vehicle. It certainly doesn't mitigate the situation entirely, but intended to help to some extent with the economic damage that resulting here. So that quote is $68.90, I believe, to purchase the remanufactured Ford engine and have it installed. It would not be available for a couple of weeks. It's my understanding these engines are just coming online. When we last talked about this, they were not available. So thus the differential between what we're talking here and that of a month or so ago or a few weeks ago.
You've talked to the chief, and he has indicated that he's going to deal with this as far as the future, right? Have they looked and checked on, there are 6 cars?
Mm-hmm.
So are you satisfied that he has checked into the remaining 5 and make sure that this, I can't see how this would be something that would be ignored just
To
on
that
one
car, yeah.
It must be a pervasive practice.
I have confirmed that they've checked the other vehicles, yes.
And multiple officers use any given one car, right? So,
Well, particular.
Could I ask a question on this? Does the township take care of these police cars?
no. I'll tell you what, we have a public comment coming up again.
I understand.
So, if you've got questions on anything we're doing here. So where are we at right now as far as oil changes and things? The DPW is not going to be able to do this, especially summer coming up?
Well, I think the intent is to get the DPW more involved, but we talked about a system that isn't reliant on the DPW totally, because if they're not available, we have to have a process that.
I don't see how they could not be available within a week's time.
Yeah.
I mean, if the light comes on, schedule it with the DPW to have it done in the next few days. I mean, it takes a half hour. They can get it in the morning or something, or in the afternoon. I'm sure it can be worked around. I don't think it's ever been tried. I'm sure this is probably what happened to the last car. And I would rather see our guys changing the oil on a regular basis than someplace else. And they could also be checked out at the same time.
Well, I believe that is the intent. I guess I'm just suggesting that if for some reason, we don't want to have a process that's totally reliant on them. It needs to be somewhat independent within the police department.
Well, I think if the DPW can't take care of it, then they should be the ones that schedule it and take it somewhere else, or have them take it somewhere else. I don't think the police department or Old Orchard or you or Ann or somebody can make that call. I think it should be up to the DPW to say, we're too busy, we'll sign off on it, go ahead and take it to Zubeck's or wherever.
Are these all Ford products?
The engine failures have been, yes.
Yeah.
However, we've been using Ford products for many, many years, and the Crown Victorias,
Right.
we did not have these issues with. I think in part because of, there was no automatic feature, so there had to be a regular checking as opposed to the electronic. So
Who
dummy
scheduled
like-
that regular checking? Was it previous police chief? Did he kind of keep an eye over that, or how did that work?
Well, previous police chief and I think some of the existing staff, the folks who are now in the police department, did as well when we were using those vehicles. I think what's happened is we've gone to these electronic warning systems, and they've been disregarded, and as opposed to just a standard process where somebody's monitoring the mileage visibly and scheduling the oil changes.
Whoa, okay. Well.
I'll move we go ahead with the purchase of the new engine.
Support.
Mr. Hinckley and Mr. Weed. Anything further? Roll call, please.
Mr. Binkowski?
Yes, with embarrassment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ms. McGuire?
No,
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Gieske?
Yes, the same as Mr. Pinkowski with embarrassment. That's ridiculous.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion carried. Okay. With the board's permission, it slipped by me when we were talking about agenda additions and so forth. We have various openings in Planning Commission, ZBA, etc. And I have an appointment for the ZBA that I'd like to present, but I didn't say anything at the beginning, just slipped my mind. But would you want me to present that tonight or hold on to it for a couple weeks?
I think it's fine.
Go for
Might
it.
as well do it tonight.
All right. Mr. John Rouse has contacted me that he's interested in just helping out the township and jumping in where needed. And Matt's vacancy on the ZBA has been unfilled for quite a while. So I think you know John. He is the husband of a former reporter that covered our meetings. Anyway, I would like to suggest that the board appoint him to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Make a motion to appoint John Rouse to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Support.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Weed with support by Ms. Carrasco that we do appoint John Rouse to the ZBA. We're also going to be looking for a couple of alternates to the ZBA also in case somebody can't make it and so forth. So, okay, roll call please.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Okay. Motion is passed. We're at the second public comment. Anybody have anything they wish to say?
I guess I'll jump right on the police car incident right off the bat because I knew nothing about this. The township doesn't take care of our police cars at this time?
Intermittently, it's both internal and external.
I mean, these cars are driven 24/7, hard all the time, and nobody checks the oil in these cars at least once a week? That's not something that, you know, we want our new thing is we want the police officers to drive around and check out for zoning problems. How about if they raise the hood at the beginning of their shift and check their oil? That might take all of 3 minutes. I know it might be a problem, but it would save us what, $7,000? That seems like a no-brainer to me. I guess I don't even understand this.
Right. We have no answer for that. We're as
Other
surprised
than
as
that,
you are.
other than the police chief has now implemented procedures to make sure that doesn't happen again.
But it's too late. This is something that should have been going on all along.
Right, it's done.
I mean, that's a
But new procedures
no-brainer.
are being
That's a
implemented
no-brainer.
to make sure it doesn't happen.
The other thing is the code enforcement job. We just elected somebody new or want somebody new on the zoning board of appeals,
Yeah.
but yet we don't have the zone enforcement job filled yet. Now, you can't tell me it's cheaper to get another police officer in this town than it is to fill this code enforcement officer's job. Maybe if we offer them a full-time job, once again, creating a job in this town that somebody would want to come here for. You know, it's gotta be cheaper than a new officer. These officers have enough to do in town, let alone driving around for oh, this guy's got a carport, or this guy's got a tent in his yard, or, it just seems ridiculous. The last thing is this bike trail thing. I wanna know if the bikes are gonna have to buy trail permits. Like I've had to buy all my life for my snowmobiles, my dirt bikes, my dune buggies, my cars when I go off-road. Are these bicycles gonna have to pay a trail permit here in the state of Michigan? Because
No,
that's how
they're-
we funded all these other trails in the
No,
state.
they're not, because it's not a state trail that's being put in, it's a county trail that's being put in. The
I thought this
state-
was gonna go around the whole state eventually.
It is, but it's individual municipalities who are putting it
Okay.
in and taking care of it.
So can this township do this? Require that we buy a trail permit for this trail
No,
we're gonna
there's
spend
no-
all this money on?
No, there's no plans to do that.
We have no plan to do that.
I
Well,
don't know
we'll
how you
spend all the
regulate that.
taxpayers' money
Good luck
for people to come up and use it that don't have to spend a dime to to enjoy it, like I've had to do all my life to enjoy my recreational vehicles.
We don't manage snowmobile trail, or any of those other
Or
trails.
the-
We're just gonna be managing a bike path.
Okay, that's all I got.
I would like to make some corrections here for things that you'd said earlier. When you said Governor Snyder had pulled money for the project, he pulled a portion of the money.
Exactly.
He pulled a portion of money from several programs.
Right, because we have no money in this state.
And they are, though, still gonna put some money into it. And as far as you saying that Plainfield Township have pulled out, they have not pulled out of it, they have delayed it 1 year.
They don't have the money there either, but at least their officials over there are smart enough to say, wait a minute, before we spend all this money that we don't have,
We haven't spent.
let's pull back.
No, the reason why is that there's 2 townships that were putting in for grants for this,
Right.
and they felt that both of those are gonna be competing against each other, so just have one go in and get it, and then the next year, the other one will go in it.
Right.
It'll be a step process.
Okay.
We haven't put any money into it.
And we have not put any money into it. If the grants don't
No
go
money
through,
at
the
all,
township
because-
has not put any money in.
What about having we drawn up plans and talked to,
This bike path has been in the
This-
process for 15 years.
what's the group you guys talked to for all the, plans and everything? Snyder Group, or what is it?
Oh, Spicer.
Spicer Group?
Spicer, yeah.
Haven't you paid them money for this already?
Mhm.
So you just told me you've spent no money on this trail yet.
This
None
trail's
of
been
it.
in the plan for 15 years. We did put a few $1,000s into a draft route plan for that.
Right.
But the $50,000 going towards actual construction of the project has not been put into it yet. That's
Right.
contingent on the grants. So we put in $50,000, Oscoda puts in $50,000, the county puts in $40,000, $140,000, and then with that, we expect to get $1.2 million from other agencies.
But I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we do is wrong, so what would you?
I didn't say that.
Well,
I didn't say
I've
that.
got quite a long list here, 14 things, which
Right.
is 17 things. So 17 things that we do are wrong. What do you suggest that we do to bring people here? We can't force them to go into business. What should we do to bring people here?
I don't
to
have those
open
answers.
business? Well, then why,
But the
why
things
do
you're
you think
doing
it's-
aren't working, okay? What you're doing is not working. This is
But
what I
nobody
don't understand.
offers suggestions.
Once-
They just
Once again,
point
we're
the
gonna
finger
spend all
at
this
us.
money, and that bike path is not gonna bring any.
We actually have a
anything into
lot
this
of
town.
data that proves that the bike path will bring people in. And as I said before, it's done it for thousands of other communities. There are
Right,
other
we're not in
communities
Colorado,
who have
we're not
strongly
anywhere else where people
contested
take care of
their bike
themselves and use
paths.
this year round.
But yet now, there are hundreds of thousands of people every year visiting those bike paths.
Okay.
So yes,
That
the
ride
data
through here.
proves that they will come here and use the path. We already have
Now,
some
I know
bike
people that
groups that
ride in
come
that
through.
bicycle thing on the canoe race. It brings 300 bicycles.
That's right, if we had a bike path, it could bring in more people.
I kinda doubt it, but
Okay.
it's a lot of money to spend.
We have the data to
And
prove
last
it.
but not least, I think it would be in this township's best interest, Mr. Byer, if you consider resigning from your position on the board.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Board comments. Anybody have
Chris?
anything?
Voting?
Me again.
Opening.
Election Tuesday. Still got time to get your absentee ballots. We'll be in our office this Saturday from 9 to 2 for any latecomers who want to come in and get an absentee ballot. The Monday before election, it's for emergency, or excuse me, you can come in and get a ballot, but you can't take it out of the building. You have to actually do it right there in the building. You're not allowed to take it out. But you can get this ballot up until the Monday before the election. And if you have any questions, call our office, 739-4971.
Okay.
Chris, do you have ballot information people can get ahead of time so they can look at it? Or try
Yes,
to-
we have sample ballots. You can also go on to the state of Michigan. There's sample ballots on there. There's information about each of the proposals that's on that. So, yeah. I mean, we don't have basic information. We have ballots that show what the thing is. We can't provide the information. The
Right.
person will have to do their own looking up their questions.
Okay. Anything else?
I had one. I just wanted to
Sure.
update the board that I did go to the meeting Thursday evening to the Lions, presented the information in regard to the splash pad, and they did approve moving forward with their half of the project. So they've recommitted their $10,000 that they originally pledged to go with our $10,000 to move the project forward. So
Okay. And what did they think about the mechanical turn-on?
they
versus-
actually liked it. There was a
Did they?
couple, yeah, they liked the system, thought it actually offered the 3 above ground features as compared to the 1 that the other one did, or the 2, I think. And then the questions were what about vandalism and, just questions in regard to sand, and just explaining that it wasn't a recirculating system, so that wasn't an issue, that would be breaking down pumps. Overall, it was very well received, so.
Good.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Ann.
Mhm.
Anything else? Then I'm looking for a beginning of a closed session to consider real estate matters.
I'll move to go into closed session.
Support. Okay. Thank you. Motion by McGuire with support from Hinckley that we do go into closed session. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Diasky?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Minkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Oscar, yes. Mr. Byer?
Yes.